Danny would like to give you 2 minutes to introduce yourself and talk about why you're running.
Well, thank you. My name is Danny Tarkanian. I'm running for Congress in Nevada's 3rd Congressional District. For those of you that don't know my background, I've lived in this community for almost 45 years. My family has seen the great times that this community has had, and we've experienced some of the tough times through the recession. But it's been great for our family. It's given a lot to our family. My dad was able to achieve his lifelong dream of being a college basketball coach and winning a national championship. My mother cared so much about working with young kids in education with special ed. She was able to do that most of her life and is now in the city council. They always stressed to us children the importance of giving back to the community. It's not so much what we receive, but what we can give back to the community to make us a better place. Everybody in my family has tried to do that, and I've done that myself to most of my adult life. I started a nonprofit group called the Tarkanian VegasVoice, where we teach the young kids the life lessons we learn through playing sports. I've been a member of the Team Focus, which mentors young boys that don't have a father. I've been on the board of the Hope for Prisoners, which work with the prisoners that are being released into society to try to get them acclimated so that they succeed in society. The next step for me, I believe, was to go back to Washington, D.C. and be a voice for the people that don't have a voice back there. There's a lot of people in Washington, D.C. that have voices. They're the powerful, the rich, the influential, the ones that care more about being in Washington, D.C. and keeping the power and prestige of being in office than being back there and doing what's best for the people they represent, being a public servant. And that's what's motivated me. In the early 80s, I was inspired to get into public service by two great senators from the state of Nevada. One was a Democrat, Richard Bryan, and the other was a Republican, Paul Laxalt. They embodied what public service was about. They did everything they could to make this a better community. They weren't partisan, they worked together, and that's what I hope to do. My mother, who's on the city council, she explained to me the most important thing is you take care of the people that you represent. You're a servant for them. You're not in there to make yourself stronger politically or more powerful. You're there to serve the public. And that's what I want to do, and I believe, quite honestly, that's what's missing in Washington, D.C. I believe that's why so many people have such a poor feelings and beliefs about the representatives of Washington, D.C., because we don't have people back there that will be a fighter for you and do what's right, irrespective of whether it hurts them politically. I will be that voice, and I know you're going to have some tough decisions in this next election. I just ask you, give me one chance. Give me 2 years in Washington, D.C., and if I don't make you as proud as Richard Bryan and Paul Laxalt made of me, then don't vote for me again. But I believe I will do everything I can to make you as proud of me as I was then. Thank you.
You have been attacked relentlessly by your opponents, and some of these attacks, you've actually won lawsuits after the election, of course. So can you explain the telemarketing fraud that they're accusing you of and the charity fraud they're accusing you of?
Yeah, if I have a little bit longer, I'd like to go into this some more, because as I talked to
3 minutes?
As I talked to many of you here today, this was a question that was brought up. I have been attacked with lies, defamatory statements from both Republicans and Democrats. It's not a one-party deal. I've had over $14 million before this year used against me on paid media, lying and deceiving people about me, and this election has already been $5 million on TV used against me. And they're usually, and the first one that's been used from the very first point of my campaign is, they say that I created companies that defrauded senior citizens out of millions of dollars. And it's really a despicable attack, because I've already won a defamation lawsuit on this, proven it was not true. A unanimous jury in 2009 came to the conclusion that that is not only false, but my opponents knew it was false and they said it anyways. I was an attorney and I did legal work. And after I left the state of Nevada to go coach basketball with my dad in Fresno, some of those people that I formed those corporations for as an attorney with my legal work. No other involvement in the business, none at all. 3 years I'm out of the state, they get in trouble legally for telemarketing fraud, and my opponent has the audacity to try to say I'm involved in that. Now, the first one said about me in 2004, I won a defamation lawsuit in 2009. I got paid $150,000 for their lies. Unfortunately, my attorney took $130,000 of it. So then this last election, I ran against Jackie Rose, and she beat me by 1% in the closest race the Republican had in the state of Nevada last year. She ran the exact same ads. And you know what's amazing about her ads? She had a television commercial she put up in the blocks, quotes from newspapers, and those quotes were, she put up, they were not in the newspaper articles. They were just phony, they were made up. And the newspaper articles actually talked about me winning the defamation lawsuit. So I sued her, she filed a motion to dismiss, the judge threw out her motion, saying that I had a likelihood of success in the marriage because I've already proven that this was defamatory. And if you can believe it, Susie Lee's running the same ads. The same darn ads. And you know what? You know why it is? They would rather pay a small monetary fine and enjoy the power and prestige of being in office. And I ask you this, if you're going to lie to get elected, why are you surprised that they lie to you when they're in office? The one that bothers me the most is the Tarkanian Basketball Academy that they're running right now. Because I started that nonprofit on behalf of my father. It was in his honor as a basketball coach. And I believe we can teach young kids a life lesson to learn through playing sports. And I believe we've accomplished a lot. So the ad says, Danny Tarkanian took $700,000 from children's charity. And I said, and you know what that is? I worked 15 years starting, building, developing, and running this nonprofit, and I was paid an average salary of $44,000 a year, lower than the average wage lower than the median wage for a family here in Nevada. That $700,000 was my salary, $680,000 actually, my salary over 15 years. But they run an ad, act like I took it when I earned it. They run an ad and make it look like I took it in 1 year, and it was over 15 years. I want to say one more story if I can, because again, I've never been questioned. Well, I mean, listen, some of you aren't going to agree with me politically on some issues, and I understand that. Hopefully you agree with enough of them. I believe most of the voters that don't vote for me are turned off by these ads, so I'd like to take the time to say this. So I'm going to close with this last final story. I go to my son's 8-year-old baseball game, and I go into the dugout, or outside the dugout, and I say something to my son, and one of his teammates says, "Hey, are you Jerry's dad?" Not Jerry's my son. I said, "Yes, why?" And he said, "I saw you on TV." Now, of course, I always know, is it the good ads or the bad ads? So I wait a second, he says, "They said you stole money from seniors." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you believe that?" He said, "Well, did you?" I said, "Well, isn't it against the law to steal?" And he says, "Yeah." And I said, "You saw it on TV?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, am I in jail?" He said, "No, you're at the baseball game." I said, "Then do you think I stole money from a senior?" He said, "No. Now an 8-year-old can figure this out. Why would any voters fall for this?" And as I was talking to some people earlier today, we asked, why is this? Listen, I think my ads are the worst out there, but maybe Jackie Rose and DL and all the others are getting these type of ads feel the same way. They ask me, why do people run this? And I say it's because it works. And if people did not believe these ads, and if they voted against people that run these ads, maybe we would see a stop to it. If I could do anything to improve the political system, it would be to get these type of ads stopped. We get a better political system, better representation when we put people in office who talk about the issues of what they're going to do best for the community, not when they sling lying, deceitful attack ads against their opponents just to get elected.
This is a real quick question. Should you build the wall?
We need to secure our borders the best way we possibly can. The wall is certainly part of it. It's not all of it. I don't believe you can build a wall across the entire southern border. Some of it just isn't feasible. Others probably would be cost efficient. But listen, even in the early 2000s, every Democrat who's arguing against the wall now voted for the wall. Do you guys know that? Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they all voted for the wall. Then as soon as it became a political issue, now they won't fund it. It's like, okay, well now it's no good anymore. It's a political issue. That one of the most important things for our federal government is to secure our borders and take care of the national security of the people that live here, and building a wall is very important. One of the questions that is sort of like a generality is that if you elect a Republican, you can kiss goodbye Medicare and kiss goodbye your Social Security. And assuming it's not true, has compromise become such a bad word that assuming you become congressman that there's no way you're going to work with any Democrat? Look, I've spent my entire adult life working across party lines, whether it's politically, business-wise, or in sports. You need to work with people. Harry Reid was not my favorite politician, but he certainly had this right. He said legislation is the art of compromise. You're not going to get everything you want. You want to argue, persuade, and do the best you can to get the most that you can get and do what's best for our community. Look, I don't know where they're coming out saying Republicans want to get rid of Medicare and cut Medicare and pay Medicare and Social Security. Nobody wants to do that. We have paid into that system. At least I don't. Let me just talk about me personally. I certainly don't. I'm not going to vote that way. We have all paid in to the system to get that money for us when we reach a certain age. We need to get that. Now, this is a problem we have. All the people in Washington, D.C. right now, they'd rather kick the can down the road and not make the tough decisions. And what's going to happen is this. One or two things are going to happen. Either at some point in time, there's going to be a huge cut in Social Security and Medicare, which I would never vote for. Or the second thing is worse than that. And it's worse for that for all of you people here. They're going to print billions and billions and billions of more dollars to pay for our debt and to pay for the increase in cost to fund Social Security and Medicare. That's going to increase inflation, and it's going to devalue what you can purchase. So everybody who's on fixed income, who thought, hey, I could live with $2,000 a month for the rest of my life, now that $2,000 a month is only buying them $800 a month, and now they're starving. It's not right. It's something that is going to destroy the seniors if we don't make some tough decisions to shore up Social Security. And there's a lot of ways to do it. I'm saying one of the biggest ways we can save money is stop going overseas and fighting wars that we have no business fighting over. We spent $3 trillion fighting wars over in the Middle East, and we had no business being there. I believe we should only be fighting wars if there is an imminent threat to our national security or we defend ourselves or one of our close allies, such as when the terrorists came in and bombed 9/11. We had a duty and obligation to find the people who committed those atrocities, find them, kill them, or bring them back to justice, and then we should have got all of our people back out of the Middle East. And instead, we go into Iraq, and we've been there now for, 17 years now. We went into Syria. We went into, we're still in Syria. We went into Libya. We went into Egypt. We're spending all of this money. We can't take care of the people here in the United States first. I mean, we owe it to the people of this country to take care of Americans first, American workers first, the seniors here first, and the military.
One last question, then we're going to take a 10-minute break. Danny, again, the federal government has become, again, we've reached a point where nothing gets done. All right? And Democrats are for one thing, Republicans are against another, vice versa. Is there something that you feel you can do? What do you bring that's different in which, yes, you're a Republican, but yes, you're not just 100% Republican, or 100% issue, and that's all it is.
I'm 100% Nevadan and what's best for the people of Nevada and the country. It's not a Republican or Democrat bill. And I go back, listen, I was blessed and fortunate to have two great parents who taught me a lot. And my mother was on the city council. Her first vote was to deny a building permit for the biggest booster my father ever had and one of our closest friends. I said, how could you do that? And she said, because I'm not here to better myself politically. I'm here to take care of the people I represent, and they didn't want this building there, and she did that. That's what we need in Washington, D.C. We need people to go back there and vote for what's best for the people they represent, not what's best for their party or themselves politically. And until we get more people like that, we're going to have a stalemate in Washington, D.C.
And one last question. What's your feeling about term limits?
What did my commercial say? This is wonderful, just like term limits. You know what? I'm all in favor of term limits, and I believe term limits are important because of this. Once you become an incumbent in Washington, D.C., if you're a congressperson, many of your seats are safe seats where you don't have opposition from the opposing side, and so it's only a challenger from your own party that can beat you. And because you're in office, you have all the money, nobody can challenge you and beat you. Same thing goes for the Senate. Now look, there's a reason why there's never been an incumbent U.S. Senator in the state of Nevada who lose a primary. It's because of the way the odds are stacked against getting somebody out of office, because once they're in there, they control that power. Our framers of the Constitution, the most brilliant people that ever walked the face of this earth, in my opinion, except maybe Jesus, they came out with they wanted a civilian government. They wanted civilian people governing our country. And it was supposed to be for a short term and then go back to the civilian life. We have turned this into career jobs for many people, and it's destroying our representation.
Thank you.
We're going to take a 5-minute break.
we have an election coming up now in 20 days, and I would be neglectful if I didn't ask you for your vote. So I would please ask you.
I want to be very serious with you here. I ran some very tough races and I had some crushing defeats. I got one opportunity to make this thing work. I'm doing everything I can to win. It's going to be a very, very close race. I ask you please to look carefully at who you choose. Pick the right person that you really believe will represent you. I hope it would be me, and I hope I can count on your vote, but at least do